All right, I'll call the meeting to order tonight here at the town hall. And the first order of business is the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Does anybody have anything to add to the agenda on the board members? You all set?
What's that?
Okay. You
I
have
have one thing under Old Town Business, and that's just a proposal from Atlas on 4th Street.
Okay. All right, so the next thing would be the minutes from our March 8th special organizational Zoom meeting.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from the March 8th special organizational meeting.
Okay, motion is made and seconded. Any other discussion on the minutes? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so that passed. Public comments of anything that's not on the agenda. Okay. Law enforcement. Chief?
You want to come up or?
Well, you probably can give a very brief report tonight because you've already.
Okay, well, I have the typical
Yeah.
paperwork for everyone. Pass that along.
Thank you.
Thank you. Either way, however you want me to do it. But as far as the incident analysis goes for February, the top 10 incident types in the town, you'll see 17 traffic stops, 6 directed patrols, 6 agency assists, 6 suspicious persons, 5 alarms, 5 motor vehicle complaints, 5 welfare checks, 3 juvenile problems, 3 citizen assists, and 2 trespassing incidents. There were 69 incidents total. There's some discrepancy between what's flagged as a traffic stop as an incident type and then the actual traffic stops. When you look at the ticket report, which is page 4, I believe, begins there. There were actually 21 incidents associated with traffic enforcement. Out of those, 4 tickets were issued and 15 warnings, and there was 1 arrest associated with traffic enforcement. And then there were 6 arrests total for the month of February. There were 2 conspiracy charges. That's conspiracy to distribute cocaine, driving under the influence, disorderly conduct by phone, 1 charge, unlawful trespass, and failure to return a rented motor vehicle for the arrest for the
Anybody have any questions for the chief?
Yeah, the only thing I was there with, Chief, is the number of stops for way over the speed limit and just giving warnings. 52 and 35 and a warning.
Yeah, I would have to look into that as to why that occurred.
65 and a 50, they got a ticket. 11 to 20 miles over the speed limit on Macy Road, a warning. Another one, 11 to 20 miles per hour over the speed limit on Macy Road, a warning. Another one on the Wall Farm Road, a warning, 11 to 20 miles an hour over the speed limit.
Yeah, I would have to take a dive into each one of the incidents to see exactly the context of each of them.
That's all I got. Chairman.
But there are, and we did receive a complaint also about speeding on 78 up by MVU. And so one of the issues I have with that area, we put the speed trailer out there and it was able to record quite a bit. I don't know if we covered this last meeting. but, and I'm blanking on the exact number, I don't have the data in front of me, but it had a really good data poll. And essentially you're getting speeds, there is quite a bit of excessive speeding in that 35 mph zone. The problem is the way the state has it, right? So you literally about 100 feet past the entrance to MBU, the speed limit's 50, and then it drops to 35 like that. And so it's very difficult in a sense of equity and fairness to issue people tickets if they're still doing, 45, 10 over as they're coming into that 35 mph zone. I understand where the residents are coming from. I did have the guys go up there and engage in traffic enforcement in that area. And certainly, at that, it was during commuting times were the worst, right? It was mainly during the day was where the speeds were excessive. And then also there were approximately 10 speeders consistently at even 10 to 20 mph over the limit, I want to say from 5 at night till 7 at night. And then it dropped off after that, those commuting hours. So it is something that I've had the guys out there addressing in that area specifically. But it is a problem. It's similar on Spring Street as you come into the village also. The speed limit drops rapidly from 50 miles an hour.
As long as you brought that study up, is it something you feel is an issue up there that needs to be addressed as far as the state changing their,
I would love to see it pushed out so that you have a little bit more of a buffer. Right? I
maybe
think-
that's a request we can make, but some of that land is in Highgate though, isn't it? Do you know where?
It is, because the town line is basically right there, is my understanding. It comes right across essentially the entrance of MVU. MVU proper sits in Highgate,
Yeah.
but the town line is right there. So I don't know, it's state highway also, I don't know what would be involved in trying to change that speed limit and
That's a-
allowing it
that's a
more
request.
buffer.
Request it.
Maybe we should put a request in there.
Yeah, and if it's outside of the town of Highgate, the Highgate Selectboard should also be on that request.
Or at least look into that, maybe they would agree to do it a joint, but
Yeah.
even carry more weight.
Yeah, because they also, the other problem you have, as everybody's experienced, right, if the speed limit's 50, people are driving at 60 mph on a regular basis, and now all of a sudden it's 60 to 35.
Yeah, yeah.
Makes sense.
Well, we should talk with Highgate about, if they'd be willing to participate in that. All right,
But it is something we will continue to address.
yeah,
Thank you,
Prioritize
Matt.
for you guys.
Okay.
all right, thank
Good
you.
night.
Have a good night, Matt.
Okay, I kinda skipped over the animal control report.
We got one.
Anybody got any questions on that? Or we looking forward to the animal control officer, you haven't heard anything, that nobody told you?
No. But I'm gonna meet with him soon and introduce myself.
Okay, if nobody got any comments on that, we'll move on to the health officer's report. Any questions or concerns on the health officer's report? She seems to be following up on everything that, no problem there, eh?
Yeah.
All right, now we can move on to Old Town business. Okay, we got to appoint the two representatives of the board of directors for the NRPC tabled from our last meeting. And that was because we wanted to see if we had too many people or not enough people.
Not enough people. Just to refresh everyone's memory, at the organizational meeting, originally we had to reappoint Harold Garrett and to appoint Reggie Bellevaux. And there was some discussion, and the feeling was that maybe somebody from the board would give more weight to the to the delegation, one of our two representatives. And I talked with Reggie about it, and he's been appointed to the NRPC board of directors by the village to be the village representative. So that opens it up. I wasn't able to speak to Harold. My understanding is he's on the executive committee and he's
Yeah.
pretty,
Yeah.
squared away there. So we need to appoint, and then I know Nicole had mentioned she would be interested.
Yep.
So that's where we are tonight.
Okay, so that clarifies what we were concerned about. Does anybody wanna make a motion to appoint Nicole?
I move. Second.
All right, motion been made and seconded to appoint Nicole as one of our representatives to regional planning. Is there any more discussion? Not, then all those in favor?
Aye.
And then also to reappoint Harold.
And, oh, okay, now we need a motion.
I move.
I'll second.
Move. You seconded it? Okay, you get that, Joe? All right, motion been made to reappoint Harold Garrett too, as our second representative, or first, actually, Nicole will be the second, because Harold has the seniority. Is there any discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, so that motion passed too. All right, now we can move on to V-Trans representative to present revised plans for new garage on Showen Road.
I'm passing out the revised plan. I'm just sorry for it being small, but I did get it in color.
You did print the big one.
The big one.
I did print the big one.
With the revised one. They're very similar.
Yeah.
And we do it for Equity project manager for our V-Trans. He's been working with Mr. Montaigne, basically the road access here. So essentially, the last time we had talked, using Shoal Road was not gonna work as far as increasing any amount of traffic from that current configuration on Bushy Road. So, speaking V-Trans traffic internally, there really is there's no solution to fix Shoal Road and Bushy Road in its current configuration. So what we've done is worked with Mr. Montaigne to get an easement to basically build a new road through his property that can access the existing Shoal Road in a different manner. And this access is probably about 500 feet south of Bushy Road, and it would be on V-Trans Route 207. We're talking, so I did go back and review your guys' town standards. Essentially, you guys recommend a 76 standard for road width, and seeing that standard recommends 12-foot travel lane. We're proposing a 24-foot wide road total, and I think that's kind of the rough summary of what we're looking at. Really working with the neighbor. He really wanted 2 acres. That's why this plan exists in the current configuration, basically the plan we use for discussion. And he wanted 2 acres on the north side of this road, and this is how we can access 207 with acceptable site distances. So we travel any further south on 207, we lose the site distances to the north. A little bit further north, perhaps we keep those site distances, but in order to maintain that 2-acre parcel, 2-acre section of land that they requested, this is as far as we can go to the south, really. So I guess from our perspective, we're looking to use this new road to access Shoal Road. One of my questions is if we're going to do that, what the select board would like us to do with the existing road. Really, that's one question that I have. As far as leave it as is, or put it to grass, or what have you. And that's not something you have to answer right now, but something I wanted to just get you guys to think about. And then obviously, if you guys are open to this, this
Who wants
particular.
to start the discussion?
I just want to make sure that I understand your map. This is the new road that's coming in right here?
That is correct.
Do we have any plans for anything
Well, that's the
for the
whole
future
issue.
development, so if we put that to seed, then that would cause only that to be the entrance, or whatever the case is. So if we're gonna do, potentially, if that ever gets developed back there in the future, what are we looking at?
You would have some frontage there on Bushy Road.
Right, so as far as the two acre, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we had a lot of discussions with Mr. Montaigne as far as what, this 2 acre, we're kind of creating a 2 acre island for him.
Yeah.
And our understanding with our discussions is he can use the frontage on the new road, he has frontage on 207, he doesn't actually need the frontage on the current shallow road. As far as frontage for the property to the north, I mean, there's hundreds of feet of frontage along Bushy Road. So,
Well, I guess, the concern for the town would be that, in the future, you're gonna see more development in that, probably in that tract of land, because essentially it's the only land that Swanton really has, that has a chance to be developed, that has a chance to have municipal services, because you're obviously bringing the water in, at the same time, maybe there'll be a sewer brought somewhere by, who knows, but, that's what our town plan calls for. And I can tell you right now that what you're proposing doesn't address the future for this region properly. And it's, now is the time to be doing it. I think, you need to understand you're probably gonna see more activity here.
I guess I'm a little confused, what kind of development are you anticipating?
It would be development for industrial growth, residential, high density residential. Be a mixed use is what we're basically been discussing, we're looking forward maybe to putting together some kind of master plan for that area this year, and maybe the state ought to be involved in this too at the same time. Because there are gonna be benefits, for the, not necessarily higher, but I'm talking about the state of Vermont.
Sure.
And this is something that would happen outside of Chittenden County, so it's good for rural Vermont. So there'll be more activity here.
Sure. What part of the current, as the access as we proposed, makes you feel that it's inadequate for additional development?
Well, it doesn't, for one thing, it doesn't address the issues here at 207 and Bushy Road. That's always been a bad intersection. And you're gonna see more traffic, so that's still gonna exist the way you're proposing it now.
Well, I guess I just want to say that we're not adding traffic to Bushy Road. That's part of our project.
I know, I understand you're not, but the rest of the world is.
Sure,
And we're gonna have to deal with it,
okay.
okay? So this is why I'm bringing this up now and not waiting till later. Now you got a driveway cut over here and you're gonna do something different here in the future because of the volume of traffic. You're gonna have, the more driveway cuts you got, the worse it is. And I'm not saying this is the only entrance to this property. There may be another entrance down the other end of 207. But it's gonna be part of an area that's gonna seed growth, whether we like it or not. And we're trying to
Well, that's all
plan
we
for
have
it.
left, that's the only area we have left.
Sure.
So we've gotta be really protective.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's why I'm wondering, we're talking about a study that you and I discussed, and we might be kind of foreclosing ourselves out of some options that could go along with this plan unless we have some caveats in here that would lend to what our plans are.
Could you be more specific? I mean, we
No, I
want to.
can't, because we don't have a plan yet.
Oh, okay. I mean, obviously, we want to address your
We'd like us to be,
concerns.
We'd like to be, we
Although
don't
if
have a plan.
Right, but if we don't understand what your concerns are exactly. So what we provided at this point in time is a safe access to the state highway that meets the low density, the A76 standard of the state guidance. So we're talking, and also meets the state, turning radii, sight distances. So again, I mean, we're providing the safest access we possibly can in accordance with the state standards, and your standards. So as referenced in your development regulations. So we're obviously more than happy, second time we've been willing to, come back and talk with you guys.
Well, I mean, but, we're looking at something bigger than just your garage, and I think you need to consider that too, or at least when you're doing a plan in here, that has to be considered, and, You already have the issue with Bushy Road and 207 as it is, and now, you know, fine, this is probably just fine, if nothing was ever gonna happen out there. If all this land was in, not current use, but in the land trust, like a lot of other land is in Swanton, there wouldn't be an issue. But that's not what's going on, you know.
I guess I'm just interested in, if you have, you may not know your development plans at the time, but are you imagining something larger than a 24-foot wide roadway?
I would say it's quite possible, if you had industrial development down along that Showham
So
Road.
beyond 2-lane traffic?
Yeah, beyond, maybe, possibly.
Now,
Definitely turning, I mean, you're gonna have to have room if there's tractor trailers or stuff like that.
absolutely, and that is part of the V-Trans, V-Trans' review when we get highway access permits from the state of Vermont. You know, we're required to have access for, commercial, every commercial driveway
And
takes that into consideration.
I guess the other thing is, whose road is this gonna be?
I believe, now
Well, I
Brad,
guess I can
Brad can
jump
probably
in.
jump in.
Brad
Yeah, absolutely.
McAvoy, facility manager for AOT. I know early on in the discussions it came up as, you may want to rename that road in the future, what that may be. I guess from my perspective on the state, I mean, is it up to the state to be on the dime to upgrade that road for a future that we really don't know yet? We are willing to put in a new approved access that
We're
meets
not
your
talking, I'm not really talking, what I'm talking about is this new proposed section off from 207 to Showham Road. Is that gonna be a private?
No, that could be future public access, but I mean, we'll get it in to meet standards now. If it needs to be upgraded in the future, if somebody buys the remaining 180 some odd acres and builds out, the state's already gonna have the water line, a 10-inch water line up to that road. I mean, we're paying that on our dime just to get the project and get the garage built. What happens however many years down the road, I'm not so sure farther down that lot is gonna perk or be able to get septic in. So, right now we basically got a site we can't build on until we kind of at least get approval to get this new access in. We wouldn't use the end of Shoreland where it meets Bushy at all. This would be the new access. Where that access meets, we would develop it all the way past our garage site.
That road would not, right now could not be shut off, Showham Road could not be shut off with the way you're proposing. Well, of course, they do access that, I guess they could go on your road too.
The access that's shown is open,
Yeah.
it's not specific to the garage site. It's open,
Well,
it's
there-
open
it says
access.
on here to be removed.
Well, that's
Yeah, that's-
an option, that's why,
Yeah,
that's why
that's actually
she brought it up.
one of the important things I think we're hoping to discuss with you guys, is it's your road. If you want, last time we were here, you requested us to look at different access options because the Shoreland Road was not a safe access for Bushy Road. So what we did is we've gone back and we've worked with the neighbor to try and provide safe access.
Sure.
Now, the next question is, if we're providing new access to Shoreland Road on our projects, dime, what would you like us to do with the existing, we could leave it, we could,
What's shown proposed is not a private
Yeah, it's-
access specific to AOT.
yeah.
We would get it
actually-
past our yard, we'll have a separate entrance to the garage property with a gate. What happens beyond, down the existing Shoreland Road is totally up to the board going forward. That's not, it won't be a dedicated drive specific to AOT. We'll maintain it and plow out that road, obviously. Whatever happens beyond there would be future development.
You're gonna plow all the way to 207.
Yeah, we'll have to get in and out.
Well, it doesn't address the Bushy Road 207 intersection issues. And if you leave the Showham Road there, that's still gonna be an issue, because I imagine a lot of other people are gonna be jumping on that road probably, if there's more development further down. Unless we shut it off and send it all down your way.
That would be our preference.
We are, so the plan in front of you talks about removing the Shoreland Road and putting it to grass. That's what reclaiming.
I know, I can read.
So just make sure it's clear, not looking for multiple accesses or to have any access to Bushy Road really at this point, based on our last conversation, that, this intersection can't see a single vehicle.
And you're gonna allow access off from that proposed route that you're talking about right here for this lot and all the rest of this.
At this point,
It's not on our
It's
lands,
not-
because we're
it's not
getting
our
an
land,
easement
no.
from the property owner to get our road in. He still owns the road. Well, property either side of the access road. We'll have a 60-foot
Are
wide
you gonna
easement.
allow them access off that road?
well,
Yeah.
of course, it's his
Yeah.
property, yeah. He's allowing us to build, so the way it's currently shown is an access easement, which means we have
So
the right
that's,
to access and build the road to get across his property. Now he can continue
alright,
to use
I
it.
understand that
Okay.
now. So what you're telling me is you're not gonna own the property that the road is on.
No,
Can he have to?
So it's totally, basically it wouldn't be useful for future access.
Would we have to get his permission if we wanted to use that road for something up in here? Mr. Montana?
I don't believe so. I mean, so we're currently, or I said Brad is in discussions with him. Essentially, it's just a legal exercise. So if you wanna own that 60-foot wide estimate at that 60-foot wide access easement, rather than
Rather than
V-Trans,
the state.
the state own it, that's fine. You know, it's just a legal exercise, I suppose, at this
So I don't
point.
think it's a question of ownership of the road, I think it's the question of, is this gonna be an impediment for us to do something up here for future development?
Not from the state's perspective.
I realize that, but if is it Mr. Montana, David?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. If he owns that road, I wanna make sure that he can't have final say on what might take place, because he could hold us hostage.
Yeah, so so what I've done in the past with easements is that we'll draft an easement agreement, and since you guys play an integral role in this particular access, you know, we bring it to you, before any agreement's made. And what that means is that you can see in the agreement, there's no, I'd call it, there's no exclusive access, right? So it means, V-Trans has the right to allow anyone they want to access the easement that they're given permission to access. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm not a lawyer, so it's not necessarily my.
So your easement is transferable, is that what you're saying?
I'm saying, once V-Trans is granted the right to have access, they can give anyone else access they would
They
like.
can, but they don't have to.
And that's where we're talking about, and Brad's sitting here, and obviously letting you guys know that he's more than happy to do whatever makes you guys comfortable.
Have you discussed with Mr. Montang the fact that you might want to allow other folks to use that road, and we wouldn't need his permission?
We haven't had that exact discussion yet. A lot of it's been back and forth with the lawyer, but we're kind of setting this access road in a 2-acre parcel with him in mind for his future saleability on it, especially with, it's his best interest to grant the easement for us and also for the water line, because we need an easement for that. It's only gonna boost the public perception of the valuable, the saleability of that parcel for commercial down the road or any future development. I mean, we're gonna be having probably $1 million and a half just adding that extra stuff in just to be able to build on the parcel we just bought for $500,000. So we're at this point trying to get access approved for the upgraded access road. We meet the site distances. What happens with the current Shoreland Road and Bushy Road access, I'm not as concerned about on that. Our access road that we're building can be utilized by anybody in the future. And if he wants to break those into 1/4-acre building parcels and have the 70-foot of frontage, that's on him. We're just looking to get his approval to get the easement in. Who holds the easement, whether it's the town or the state, I don't specifically have a preference for that. We're gonna plow to maintain it out to 207 regardless, so. There'll be a stormwater easement there
You know, I mean,
as well.
everything else here is on the table, you know that, at least, I'm gonna pull the board, what do you think? Do you think this is a proposal that we could sign off on?
Not now.
Not at this time.
Not quite yet.
Yeah, I'm not sure we did that there.
Yeah, and one of the things that, I've seen easements for years, we wanna make sure it's not a restricted easement, and that the grantor doesn't have some hold on it, where you could put clause in saying that the decision would be reasonably approved by the person that owns it, or something like that, but we could be held hostage every time we try to do something. We could end up having to write a check to somebody, and I'm really concerned about that. So I'd like to have our engineer take a look at this and point out what might be an issue for the town with our future discussions. And we don't have a plan yet, you know, we don't.
Absolutely. Yeah, from my perspective, I wanna give you guys whatever you need to help make your
Yeah.
decision. So if you have something specific in mind that is preventing you from, you know, let's say, going further with our current plan, then I'm more than happy to provide anything you need. So if it's V-Trans, you know, and Brad providing right-of-way language, for you guys to have your attorneys review, excellent. I think that's a great next step. From my perspective, we're trying to get a road in here. We can't use the current road that exists today, and, you know, we gotta get a road in here somehow. We wanna do it, obviously, with your guys' support.
Ariel,
The-
James.
Yeah,
Can
go
I
ahead.
For a second.
Yeah, go ahead, James.
I just want to remind you guys, some of you may or may not remember with the deal we had on Robin Hood about a year ago. Because we don't own Robin Hood, the state owns it. And we had an issue with the property over there that didn't really have a deed right of way to it, so. I just want to throw that out to you. Now you're talking about basically the same scenario with a road that we either will or won't own, so. So we've already run into that issue once when I was on the board, because we didn't own the road, so you may want to think about, the board may want to think about owning the road or the state owning it with, other than having an easement. It runs into issues with properties, because I know we ran into that when they sold the Robin Hood, the old bag factory, because there wasn't technically owned road to it, because it's a lease. The Robin Hood Drive is leased from the state, so.
Remember that down Nicole?
Just a little tidbit that to remember.
Yeah, and if part of the solution here is, you know, subdividing out the road right away, the 60-foot easement into a parcel or whatever that can be owned by the town, and maintenance agreement with V-Trans to you know, self-maintain, much like the class 4 roads, as you guys know, are already. It's at your own, using your own.
That's all fine and good, but I keep going back to the intersection of Bushy Road and Highgate Road, and I'm sure there's engineers out there that could design something. May take some other right-of-way to be purchased, I'm sure of that. But short of doing something along that line, it's very hard for the town
I
to
don't
support
think,
this.
the state pretty much bought as much what we could get access. That's kind of the best corner for us. It's closest to the power, you know, along 207. We're close enough to where we can get water. We're under the legislative threshold cap of 500,000 without going for legislative approval down the road. We're at that limit, so we're not able to purchase more land and stuff right now.
I
So,
know, but as I keep saying, you know, now is the time to plan for the future. And, you know, we're trying to let you know that this is where we see the future, only because of the way land is in Swanton.
everything can always be upgraded down the road. I mean, I don't know how long that part of the rest of the parcel has been for sale, and at almost 6 million, it could be there a while.
Well, I don't know, I guess you know how we feel. So you go back and talk to, people and see what, you know, I mean, if they're gonna adamant about trying to get this plan approved, well, bring it back and we'll see what happens.
I guess I'm a little confused. What exactly more would you
I'd like to see the Bushy Road, I don't think you need, Bushy Road and Highgate Road. That intersection, 207 and Bushy Road, is gonna need to be addressed. And you could address that at the same time, it would come on a town road. We don't have to worry about any easement issues on this land that belongs to David Montaigne. You would use that same access to here, and then in the future, if something did happen, it will, we'll continue that road on down here. So basically, you're the first development in the southern growth district, other than the small businesses that have been there.
So your goal would be to somehow
Redesign the intersection and so
somehow maintain Sherlin Road off of Bushy Road?
Somehow, yeah.
I don't think we should give it up.
No.
I think that's interesting. I only, obviously Brad and I are gonna talk after this meeting, but my first take on that, and you guys should talk with the town engineer, or town consultant, is that with the way Route 207 and Bushy Road are set up, with 207 kind of sharply diving off onto 207, or onto Bushy Road. There's gonna be a large amount of site distance needed between that intersection and any new shallow road. So we're talking over 500 feet, which puts you almost exactly, you can barely see it on this picture, across the driveway to the body shop that's up there.
That's one way.
And that's,
yeah.
that would, I'm just trying to,
Yeah, I understand.
explain what that, in my first take, sitting here in front of you, would be. And as Brad said, we're,
Yeah, I mean,
We don't-
another unknown on our end is if we go into that, trying to redo that intersection, we'd probably have to do traffic studies, but we don't know what future development may look like. Is it 100 cars, is it 500 cars? So all of that's gonna affect.
Well, you'd have to put it in some kind of computer model based on what the expectancy would be on the amount of land and how much is gonna be set aside for housing, what type of housing, what's gonna be set aside. I mean, you can get those, you could put something
Studies like
in,
that
yeah.
though may take a couple of years to get
Well,
done.
maybe, but
so,
we gotta do something.
so
Who
my,
owns this house right here?
his Leon Kempton, according to the,
Okay, I can't read it, okay.
yeah,
All
yeah,
right, so that's private.
that is privately owned.
Okay.
So in my experience, when it comes to large subdivisions off, so creating a new access, let's say a large subdivision or a large development, is that we know in a rough sense what we are developing, okay? So, and then on top of that, the development may have certain triggers, right? So you may be able to do, and I think you're familiar with this, is you can do the intersection with a stop sign, but after the fifth, lot gets developed, you need to have a signalized intersection, something to that effect. But again, that hinges on knowing what the traffic generation is going to be, and that means knowing the use, the density, the number of lots, single-family units, or the number, or particularly if you're doing commercial, what your commercial use is, how many square foot, buildings, square footage to generate traffic demand. Again, I based on this project, the traffic demand is very low, and without having let's just say, if I were to say hypothetically, if Mr. St. Pierre or Mr. Montaigne down the road here decided they wanted to do a 50-lot subdivision, this may end up being the exact same solution. So that's just my opinion. You may end up with the exact same solution. You access off a state highway with adequate site distances and a controlled intersection that's not as dangerous as Bushy Road. So that's just my 2 cents.
But Butchie Road and 207 will still be there.
That's right.
So you haven't addressed the real issue. That's the whole thing. That's never gonna go away. And, since Walmart and all that stuff has gone in and St. Albans, Butchie Road gets a lot of traffic.
Absolutely.
A lot of traffic, and it's probably gonna see more. So that issue is not going away. But, we know how you feel, you know how we feel. I don't know.
If any new future development beyond that garage site uses the access road we're gonna put in, you're not increasing traffic.
You are if they're coming from Enosburg, Richford area, that's where they're gonna jump across there, on that road, Bushy Road, that's what they do now. When they come off 105, they go right up Woods Hill Road and jump on Bushy Road. That's quicker than going around the other way to the traffic lights over there. So that's just the way traffic pattern, if you went out there and spent an hour or two, you'd see it. And, we expect to basically, it's gonna be hard to say there's gonna be less right now.
I mean, when we bought the site, we weren't looking at
I know,
future commercial
Yeah.
development potential,
Right.
otherwise we wouldn't have bought the site.
yeah.
So now we're kinda stuck with a parcel we own, we're designing that we may not be able to use for a couple of years, and we have funding in place through the legislature we may lose, so we'll try to come up with a solution that's agreeable to the board, but, I don't know is
I think
the
we
Bushy intersection's
can,
agreeable.
and I believe it'll be better, if you gotta look at the big picture here, that it's gonna be better for you guys, it's gonna be better for Swanton, it's gonna be better for Franklin County, it's gonna be better for Vermont. Because if we have this type of development here, it's gonna be, it's gonna help our rural economy. And we're gonna be able to provide, one of the things that part of this area would be housing. And if we get municipal services there, which you've already started the process, then we can, that housing can be denser, be more affordable, and that's what everybody's pushing for, so.
Does that burden fall on the state to get that initial infrastructure in
Yeah.
place is my concern.
My big fear, you know, they're gonna, one of the environmentalists are gonna come back and say, you're creating sprawl. You know, they want everybody to be piled on top of each other in the village. So our plans, as ambitious as they are, we're probably gonna be in a long battle with them.
Well, maybe, but
I
if we
hope
do
not.
it, if
I
we
hope
do it,
not,
you know, in that dense style, that's what they want. And it makes sense. So, you know, our concern is basically the Bushy Road 207 intersection and, you know, its future. And, not to say that we wouldn't be able to work with the state on this too, you know, but, this plan here, I don't believe anybody would approve it here in Swanton.
Interesting.
Okay?
Yeah, I think the most interesting part to me is that obviously we're not touching Bushy Road.
I know.
We're not actually impacting Bushy
I know.
Road at all.
Well,
We're
you're
adding
not, you're
6
not,
trucks.
but I'm just saying it's gonna happen, it's happening now. You know,
You're talking about the garage
Yeah,
development would
yeah,
impact Bushy.
yeah, and then if you're gonna do this up here, you know, to access all the rest of this, then more people, if they're coming from this direction on Bushy Road, that's gonna create more traffic on that intersection, just to get to here. To get to this road to access whatever future development goes in, that road.
Yeah. Alls I can speak for.
It's not you personally.
Yeah, all I can speak for is obviously the
Yeah.
project that we have presented in front of you. And which we do believe is in compliance with local zoning and the use and district of this area. And that we believe we can provide safe access to Route 207, and not impact negatively Bushy Road in any way, so.
Well,
What I'm interested in is
we come to a standstill here.
Well, I won't be able to get
No,
you
but what I'm
guys
saying
what
is,
you
you know
need.
how we feel, you go back and talk to your people, we'll talk about this some more, maybe there's some way we can work together. All right?
Is it possible that you might get a deeded, this plan will be deeded to you rather than through an easement?
It can be, I believe it can be
Okay.
transferred however you
Okay,
prefer.
That's important to me.
So like, if you guys would prefer something like that, then that's absolutely something that's in the realm of possibility.
Because then we own it or you own it, and we're not at the mercy of somebody else.
Absolutely,
That
yeah.
would hold us up for,
If it's agreeable to the board that the town own it, we can certainly get the deed written that way. I mean, it's only gonna benefit Montaigne in the future if he's got a deeded access to past the garage site to the rest of that property. So I think he'll be agreeable to however it's written. I don't think he cares whether it's the state or the town. But if we do nothing, if we do no new access, or put the water line in, because right now, if we have to upgrade that whole intersection, we'll probably just walk away. And that means no water, it means no access, it means that parcel may sit a long time, so.
Mexican standoff. Let's see what we can come back with, okay?
Yeah,
Cause
well-
it's getting late, we got other
Oh,
business, all right?
Absolutely. So, just to clarify,
Yeah.
you're most interested in is some type of, traffic report or some type of traffic engineer's opinion on Bushy Road and Route 207 intersection, and if that can be improved for
Yes.
future use?
Yes, as part of this development part, cause you're the first one,
Mm-hmm.
so,
Interesting.
you know.
And you guys aren't sure what level, I guess the town would develop any property necessarily.
No, I mean, the
You're
world
not
could
sure
end
what-
tomorrow, for all we
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
but,
right.
you know, but
Yeah,
that's
you're
where
not sure
we're
what-
planning for,
Okay,
it's our plan.
we have no industrial park space left.
right.
And because of the geography and the land trust that surrounds the village and the town, we have no place to go. We don't have a spoonful of,
You're talking for industrial use.
yeah, so
Okay.
this is real critical to us. That's why we're looking at all of the options as we go forward.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that, I would, in my opinion, an access like this is easier for any type of truck traffic, any type of, access that would probably rely on industrial use, other than somehow we're figuring a real, very poor intersection, as you guys know, a very poor intersection today. We will, obviously, Brad and I will talk, and we'll see what we can do to address your concerns. I guess, from a time standpoint, it's kind of difficult every 2 months, come back and have this conversation as they're interested in trying to develop in the more near future, than in 5 years from now. Exactly, if there's, maybe Brian talking to you is probably the best way to try to streamline the process. So when we talk to you, we have the most productive conversations,
And then I can get Earl. Earl can come into my office, we can down the speakerphone.
Yeah.
Okay, because that's, right now, this is what we've gone up against, is discussing Mr. Montaigne. It's been a very slow back and forth, and then talking with you guys once every 2 months could be a very slow process, so.
We can expedite things.
Oh, hey, you're the state, I mean, that's slow.
I was consulting engineer, right?
No, not you.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, thank you, thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, guys.
You might want to go into executive session at some point to discuss this.
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
All right, so now we're gonna go on to the MVU First Street Sidewalk project.
Okay, just in your packet, on page 14 is the engineer's opinion of what the cost is gonna be as of now to completion. Opinion of probable construction costs. And I think this will, I got it in late, I'm gonna give it to you. If you wanted to, we can put it on the agenda for another meeting if you got more questions, or we could get the engineer and the representative from Northwest Regional Planning in to talk about it if there's any questions.
622,
Pardon me?
622, 556.
Right.
I have a couple things I'd like to talk about with it. You guys care to listen?
Yeah, go ahead.
Have we thought about the future costs that the sidewalk is gonna present to us?
Maintenance wise.
I just have a little bit of experience with sidewalks, and they're not fun and they're not cheap to maintain, and there's a lot of factors that would go in with putting a sidewalk there and whatnot. We've got the prices, we have to move a lot of stuff, but then you gotta maintain it. I think the village maintains where the Bushy Street sidewalks are.
That's right, yeah.
And then,
And Robin Hood.
And, right.
But my understanding, this is before I came on board, when this was, the village had told this board that they will not be in the position to
Correct.
do this stretch of sidewalk.
Right, so, and I was actually told the same thing, and I do know that a sidewalk machine's well over $100,000,
Right.
and then you gotta employ somebody because the state plows that, and it's gonna get covered with snow so much, constantly, so someone's gonna stay on that sidewalk. Then you have materials and all that to do it, and then you have to actually hire a person to now do the sidewalks, because I just have a funny feeling that if the town ends up putting it in and then they plow it, then the village is gonna stop plowing Robin Hood Drive and all that, because why would they? They've been doing it for free, So now you're just looking at like this big snowball effect of huge costs down the road. That's just my, what I've been thinking about. And you got the overpasses there, so now you're gonna have to potentially put in lighting, and then the snow that's coming off from the overpasses is gonna fall on there. Then you have like wetlands and so on and so forth. So
That doesn't include any money for right of way.
So I was just gonna ask, there's no right away.
I didn't see it in here.
I don't see it.
Maybe I missed it, but I was looking
I
for
didn't
it.
see it.
They don't see it. Yeah, I don't see that.
Construction
Just,
costs.
yeah,
Well, maybe you wanna put this on the agenda for our
Yeah.
next meeting, Brian.
Right. Okay.
Is that all right with you guys?
Yeah, let's talk about the acquisition of the right of way, because I think that's still
Yeah.
gonna be tricky.
And we need that, yeah, that engineer should be able to tell us what's gonna be needed and where, so we got an idea
Right.
of what we're looking at.
Yep. Sounds like a plan.
Alright, update on Swanton Rec Center and Community Center.
So I think you're sitting on my folder. So you can take one of these and pass it along.
Oh, I could've got that.
Yeah,
You want the other paper?
I'm just gonna do it right now. We're not really gonna talk about that right now, but. I don't think I really need anything. What?
Well, I was waiting for the screen to.
So we're back, like we had talked about. We were gonna come back and kind of discuss where we're at after we finished all of Once Cross had given us our cost estimator and our sketch plan, which you can see to the right of me. So here we are. So we kind of put together a little bit of a slideshow. We won't spend a ton of time on it. But I just wanted, since Cody and Steve are kind of new to the board, and they weren't part of the initial, like, how we got here process, we just kind of wanted to kind of touch base on how we actually got here. And so we're talking about a little bit about the objective, which you'll see on the first page, and then we kind of roll into like the community demographics, kind of our population, our average age, household income, stuff like that. Just stuff that, it's important that our community continues to grow. It's growing at 1.26% since 2020, so our community's not getting any smaller, it's growing. And we really, like Earl said over and over, we need to start planning for our future growth. So this slide that I have up here right now talks about the town appropriations. So we've been pretty flatlined in line for the town appropriations for several years. We haven't had a huge increase. We've always tried to, be frugal. That might kind of not be a great thing at this point because we've been so frugal, and then all of a sudden we feel the need for planning for the future and expanding our recreational needs for our community. So the next slide. So this shows our program numbers and how they have grown over the last few years. So as you can see, there was a slight dip with COVID, and then it just skyrockets from there. So we see that there is growth in our programming. And I know that Ed's been to our rec department, and Cody, and obviously Nicole. But I don't know if Steve has ever, or Earl have ever come to the rec department.
It was funny, that was my plan today.
Just to see the
Unfortunately,
space
plans
we
don't always come
have.
together, but I was going up this afternoon.
Yeah.
You're almost
So-
welcome.
So Nick and Nicole are there every day. So please stop by and just kind of get a look at what we're working with, and then number-wise, where we just keep increasing. So,
How many participants do you have? And this is certainly impressive right here. You had 300-400 kids?
oh gosh, no, there's more than that. There's there's like 900 or more.
Wow.
Yeah, so, and the way we get these numbers, so we have a system called MyRec system, and anytime someone registers for our program, it calculates that. So we have our revenue, that's how we calculate our program revenue too, is through this system. It's like very amazing system.
That's how all of these graphs were populated, was using the MyRec system and the software.
Alright, so
So if I look at this, we could say that in 2022, we had about 1,000 or 1,100.
yeah,
That's impressive.
yeah, I mean, when COVID hit, there was such a need for
Sure.
use of space and, you know, we were there.
We kept our doors open by operating a remote learning hub for kids, and we continued on with programming the best that we could during that time.
Mostly out of turning our garage space into a small community space that could fill the needs of the community at that time. And we continue to use that space in our tiny little boardroom / office. So, kind of why we're here. So this timeline shows you, well, so Vermont Council on Rural Development, we had a community visit in 2015. And a community space was identified as a need for our community. And then it just kind of keeps rolling until today. Planning Commission has recognized it, our town plan has it, you know, Vermont Council on Rural Development came back, it was still identified, and then the 4th Street property, still a priority. So it's not like we haven't had these conversations, and I think we've been having them way longer than this timeline. So progress, this is where we started our conversation in June with, when we all came in and talked about the ARPA funds. July, we came back and continued the conversation and spending the funds. September, we presented to the select board our vision and all that great stuff. In November, I think was approved to, no, September was approved. November was the whole process of letting us follow through with the cross-consulting process. And this is just some little
Just more info for us to
priorities
have.
that came up with why Swanton needs a community space. And kind of just some input from the community, kind of the great things we do. So this is just what we have for programming, not everything, but what we can fit on this sheet of paper. And we continue to grow, continue to come up with ideas. This is kind of a potential athletic revenue for programming, utilizing a larger year-round space. And then community programs, because it's, you know, it's not all, it's, you know, we want to make sure this space is for everybody in our community, from our little bitties to our aging Vermonters. So here is our operational kind of, I don't want to say a lot, the middle is kind of where we're at, that's our current revenue. And then year 1 is kind of our estimated revenue and expenditures. And there's no rental space because we have nothing to rent. But as you can see, it will bring a huge revenue and profit for rental space. And our obviously our operations revenue will grow because we'll have more space. Our program revenue will grow because we'll have more space and offer more programs and have be able to offer to more community members. Right now we kind of have to cap how many people we can have at our facility because of spacing. Alright.
Can I just ask a question? You've done a lot of work here, I mean, you've done a good job with this. It really, lays out some visions. But on the, it looks like in year one, just for example, we're gonna pick up an additional $45,000 from the new things that we can offer. So we're at 116,000, but year one, our expenses are gonna be double that.
Well, we're not really sure about the utility end of it, because in our proposal it says gas, but we're not sure what's the most cost-effective cooling and heating process. So that's like, that number is high on the utilities, and I think that's what brings us over.
But it's not a large
No,
number.
it's not a huge
No, if
increase.
you're off 25-30%, it's not a big deal. I noticed that we're anticipating a bond of,
Oh, well, let's go to the next page.
oh, okay, sorry.
Well, just before you go on the expense side, you know, you're gonna do all these extra programs and stuff, and you only up it by 60,000, staff and benefits.
Well, so basically, we'll have our athletic director and our executive director, and then that's, we already budget for
I know, I
all the
understand
other
that,
staff.
yeah.
So we're gonna only have to, we're thinking 3 to 4 part-time staff members additional from what we currently budget for.
That's in the 200,000.
Yes.
The
Yes.
202, 320.
Yep.
Excuse me.
And those are jobs for our aging Vermonters or our youth that are looking to build workforce development skills.
Are we good?
So if we look at this, we'd have to ask the taxpayers to foot the bill for the deficiency between the 116 and the 249.
Well, yeah, because we have to, yeah, our budget would increase, yes.
So where the town is putting in some money, well spent, you know, you kept your expenses down, that's great. But now, instead of putting in, whatever we put, 70,000 a year, how much we put in?
154 or something.
154. We are gonna be asking them to put in another 100 grand or better out of the taxpayers. They're gonna have to foot the bill for the other 100.
But the taxpayers are gonna benefit from this.
Well, I know that, but
Investment
if you're
to our
65
community.
years old and you don't really care, and, you know, you're not taking your medication, you're not warm, and you,
Oh, I understand it's gonna be,
so
some people may take a cut and, I mean, we're trying to plan for, like Earl keeps saying 100 times when you're talking about building a road and updating a road, we're planning for the future of our community,
yeah.
the growth of our community.
I
You
realize
guys
that,
wanna
but-
build,
But we've
put
gotta be
that-
careful of the taxes that we add, that we lay on
Oh,
our citizens.
I agree, but
Yeah.
if you're gonna plan for the future, there's gonna be more
Right, yeah.
tax base because you're gonna have more people that live here. Our community grows.
Now that, I just wanna get this clear, you've got 1 year, you're figuring you're gonna be up to 116,000, you're almost doubling your current revenue. So that 116,000 is gonna come off of that 204.
Well, yeah. So it's not like the whole, right, you have to balance out the revenue and expenditures. So it's not like we're gonna come in to ask taxpayers for $248,881 a year.
I do want to add something as well.
And there's still more room for
And
revenue.
I understand that no one wants to increase their taxes, but just from what I've heard, it's not so much that we're asking the taxpayers for this, it's the taxpayers asking us for this place, because I must have talked to hundreds of people, and every one of them, old, young, middle-aged, this is something that they're all wanting, because they can do, I mean, old folks can, you know, no offense, but they can do, you know, their activities that they like to do, and then the younger people can kind of use it as well. And it's just been a kind of a general opinion that everybody is in support of it. And so I just don't like to you know, we're not really asking them for an increase. We're just kind of answering what they've been asking, is how I've been perceiving it for the last, just getting involved the last 3 months. So it's just my
What would the
opinion.
shortfall amount to on a house of $200,000 to $300,000, what would we expect them to be paying in extra taxes?
I don't really, do you have that number?
I'm just curious. I
Kathy
mean,
has that number.
Well, I can tell you what a $100,000 increase would cost. The rate on that.
Alright.
Yeah, it wasn't very much, like $16 or something.
It was under 20.
It was under 20,
yeah, okay.
yeah.
I think that's a pretty fair trade for that benefit that's going to be brought to the community.
Well, and I guess we just, we see the people that come and go in our rec facility, and they're people of all ages, so we're just trying to meet the needs of everybody. And yeah, it might cost a little more, but if we have to, like Cody says, the community asked us for this, and we're trying to give it to them. And I understand your seat on the board, you're here for the taxpayers of Swanton, we're all taxpayers of Swanton. So, yeah, some of our community members are pinching their pennies,
When you say community, that's when you had that community forum, where everybody came in and identified future things that they'd like to see?
Yeah.
How many people were there?
there was over 200 people,
All right,
yeah.
and then you formed a committee to look at this? Is that how that worked? Out of that group, you formed a committee to look at?
Oh, yeah, then so Swan Enhancement Project is who brought the Council on Rural Development here. So then there were subcommittees that were formed as part of the community visit.
Well, we're probably talking 200 people that participated, which is a lot. But we got 6,700 people in the community.
Well, it's
so-
no different than the amount of people that actually come out and vote.
Well, it is if you.
I mean, no, but like, I'm just saying, the people that actually
Yeah, but
walk
that's-
through the doors
Yeah, I
that
understand
vote.
we don't wanna get sidetracked here, that's about people voting, we're looking at numbers right now. We don't know, did you find out what it was, Kathy?
$100,000 based on our grand list from last year would be .01 per thousand, $14 a year
$14.
increase.
Per 100,000.
For 100,000.
So if you're $300,000 home, which is a hard to have,
Yeah,
these days it'd be 42.
yeah.
That's,
But do you guys have is Cross, did he come up with this bond amount? This 3 million for that building, or no?
No, we have the cost for that Cross gave us.
Cross did,
And it's
he
that-
did estimate that cost at
Can
3
you just go
million.
to the next slide, please?
I can.
Is Joel still on?
I don't know, Joel, are you still there? Joel's in Washington, and he's having a really hard time. Total project is what that number, that 3.412.
Well, they got construction at 3 million, so that's the number that Cross gave you.
Right.
And then you added for inflation and stuff.
Correct.
Okay. One of the things that we haven't got in here, and I know it's on the next page, but
Can you
Oh,
hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
I've got a lot of background noise here, so I want to see whether or not you can hear me clearly.
We can hear you fine, Joel.
Okay. Can I interject right now or no?
Yes.
Can we go back to the slide of the operating? A couple of things I just want to stress on here is the projected revenue increase in year one almost offsets the expense. And I would have guessed it's going to take probably close to 4 years, anywhere between 2 and 5 years, before we have real good accurate cost of what kind of revenue we're going to get out of that facility. All along, when we started this, we never expected the actual construction cost to be covered by the operating for the revenue that we were receiving. Basically, we're looking to have the increase in revenue to offset the operating cost. The actual construction cost is something to go to the taxpayers and to any other source of grants and so on. Now if we go to the next slide. We went to Cross Consultant and they actually drew the floor plan, the elevations of a possible facility. Those should be available tonight right there, hopefully. And they sent that off to Connor Construction to do an actual estimate, to give us a good feeling
of how much it would cost to build the facility. Connor Construction, I think most people are familiar with them. They've done a lot of construction in the Franklin County area. And their cost estimate is just over $3 million. Add to that the cost of the design, somewhere around $115,000. And we've got a plan on inflation. With the numbers that we see right now happening per year, let's just say 5% inflation adds another $150,000 to the cost. You add that all up, and we are somewhere around $3,400,000. You take into account a $3 million bond and $600,000 through ARPA, and we have $3.6 million to cover that $3,400,000-something right now.
Joel, how many square feet?
10,000.
10,000?
Very close to 10,000.
So that's $340 a square foot. Yeah, not bad.
I don't know if that's a question to me, Steve. It's very hard for me to understand you. If it is a question for me, Betsy, maybe you could help out here.
It wasn't.
Okay, sorry.
Steve,
My apologies, folks. I'm in an airport, supposed to be in a different setting tonight, but it didn't work out.
No worries, we're glad you could be here either way.
Can I talk about the cost of financing this?
Yeah.
I did, just looking at what the municipal rate would be today, about 4%. Per $1 million on 20 years, you wouldn't be able to get a fixed rate for 20 years in today's market. That's $75,000 a year per million.
Are you talking about the bond?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and whether we go to the bond bank, whether we go through one of the local agencies or one of the local banks, it's gonna be about 4%. Then you're gonna have your underwriting fees and stuff on top of that. But it costs $75,000 per million per year for debt service. So that's $225,000 that we'd be laying out to pay for the bond. So we'd have to add that to these numbers.
that was 20 years you're talking?
Yeah.
That's on a 20-year amortization, and that's pretty common in when you're borrowing money for a municipality. Now, I don't think we get a 4% forever. I think that's out the window now. But there's another 225. The question is, could we raise, how much additional revenue could we raise over a ramp-up time of, as Joel said, 2 to 5 years? How much additional income could we raise to offset that debt service, which is almost $250,000 a year? Do we have that capacity? I mean, when you think about it.
I think we do have that capacity. I mean, our programs have increased at least 5% more a year as it is. So with a larger space, more opportunity for the community. And there are some numbers that we, like potential revenue, that we didn't even put in that presentation. So there's a lot more opportunity. So I would say at least 5% is, or more, a year.
You don't have any other towns that have, similar to Swanton, that have done this, so, you know, you could see some kind of growth once they made this investment?
I mean, Middlebury's kind of like I think that's a little bigger of a facility.
Yeah,
It's a
there's a
different
lot
kind of-
more
and
money
it's
around
a-
here than in Swanton, but,
And of course, there's Cambridge, which I did reach out to, and they haven't gotten back to me yet. And theirs isn't quite as big, but a lot of the programming offerings are not the same, but at least they have that space in their community.
So to echo what Betsy's saying, like every day Nicole and I have been developing programs and alternative programs that meet the demographic needs from young to old, and you know, just exploring what we can do in the space that's offered that could be potentially built. And I like to say that the programs are endless because of the ideas that we're coming up with are becoming awfully creative. Whether it's renting out rooms, doing young professional study rooms, presentation rooms, not just athletics and what we have now, but really exploring every avenue so that we can offset some of this cost.
Well, you certainly have grown it. 1,250 kids a year is pretty significant. I was trying to do the math of what kind of income you generate per kid, and we could
So
extrapolate.
I just wanna make sure the community is clear and the board, it's not just kids.
Well, you said you,
It's-
what was that graph with the yellow and the pink and all that?
That was all of our programming.
That's all, okay,
Yeah,
so. I
it's
can-
not just children,
Okay,
it's
so
programs.
all of the users of that facility, I'm gonna say
Patrons,
that.
yep,
You have 1,250 users,
Registered
registered, yeah.
registered users.
participants in programming.
If you, my question would be, if we wanted to project, how many new users would we have to get our hands on, I don't know another way to say it, at X number of dollars that we're generating now per user, would we have to meet our expenses, which are gonna be double with the debt service? We're gonna be $500,000 for the debt service here.
Yeah.
So would that mean we gotta have 2,100 users? I don't know, but that's.
I mean, the first 3 years, there's gonna be
Sure,
a deficit,
sure,
we
yeah,
know that.
yeah.
I mean, any project, but, yeah, I do not see a problem with the increase in revenue, no.
Yeah, our goal is to bring out as many people from this community and neighbors to this building daily. And I think based off of what we've established now, all those programs can either evolve and we can adapt to who's in the areas as far as our neighbors and community members. I think that number, yeah, we can definitely get
I have
more
no
people.
doubt that you're gonna generate a lot more income. My question is it gonna be enough to handle $500,000 a year worth of expenses? Recognizing there's a ramp-up period, some companies we watch take 5 to 7 years to ramp up, but they got some deep pockets to pay for it. So that $42 a month might be, a year, it might be $142 per dwelling.
Right, and we've also thought of alternative funding programs, sponsorships, we put banners all throughout that gymnasium, benches out front, concrete, put companies' names in there so that they're lifetime sponsors, so that the businesses in this community have a place at this building.
Do you know how much revenue the Highgate
I don't.
deal up here generates?
But I know that my kids participate in a lot of programs and they do it outside of Franklin County because there's nothing here. So we're talking like baseball stuff in the wintertime in Burlington. It's almost 15 or 20% of their kids are from Franklin County because there's no facility here, or even 10% is from Swanton. So you got kids from Little League to high school that go there and play baseball all winter long. And like we have AAU tournaments for basketball, and they even took the program out of this area because there's no room for gym space that they can ever get to play. And they're like, want to pay money to come and play and use your facility, but there's nothing available for anybody in this Franklin County.
So how much do you pay for your kid to play Wellington on winter long?
It's probably about $2,000 if I set my child there every time it was open. It would be that, and there's
So we're
15
looking
to
at-
20.
Okay, well, that's what I have one at a time, but.
No, I know, I understand, but I'm just saying for space and anticipation revenue going forward, that's where I was going with
Okay,
that.
I can see there's potential here, but it's just, and you don't have to convince us, you're gonna have to convince the voters, okay? And I think you're gonna need some solid numbers. And what Steve has brought up before is that maybe we get somebody to put these numbers together.
Well, you brought that up in what, December?
Yeah, but you bought these here, but it didn't have the impact on the tax rate. You're not quite sure what the, if you could get it in a way, in a form that it was easy for people to see, okay, it's gonna be year one now, this is what we're projecting in year two, and we're basing this projection on what happened here, and blah, 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 they go down through.
Right.
So that people know what the net effect is gonna be, because they see $3 million, and they're gonna be shocked.
But if they see $14 a month, will they be shocked?
No, probably not, but that's what I say, we don't know that, because you gotta get it down and get it down accurate.
It's not 14 because we don't have a debt service.
Yeah, that's the thing, you gotta figure the debt service in.
Joel wants to talk.
Okay, Joe.
Wait,
Joe?
hello?
Go
Can I
ahead.
talk?
Yes.
I think we can come back at the next meeting and put it in another format and have a little more discussion on the debt service. And again, I think we gotta take a look at what is the construction cost of that facility and how does that compare with other services provided to the community? The cost to build that building is gonna just be slightly more than what we pay for police protection in Swanton. And we're gonna get a heck of a lot more out of it as a community than just the police protection that we pay for using town funds. And I think we can bring that to you, show you that, and then do a little more detail on an increase in revenue and the projected expenses of the facility. To me, there's two different issues going on there regarding the cost.
Yeah, there is. You got the operational costs and then you have the debt service. Those are the two issues, but if the operational, if the income increases, then that can help offset the payment on for the mortgage.
And can we get, it's usually in business you get at least a 3-year set of projections. I think because of this being something that's gonna grow, we ought to look at maybe a 5-year projections, and that'll show your increased income, ratcheting up. Your debt service will probably remain stable. Your operating expenses are gonna grow, who knows, but you're gonna have to use a healthy factor in there. So if we look at a 5-year projection, you'd be surprised what it might challenge you to think about as you try to grow the programs and stuff.
And you're gonna need this,
Or
you know, before we
lender's
go
gonna ask
on.
for it anyway.
You're gonna have that information, Bill, you know.
Well, and that's kind of why we came here tonight. We came here with what we had,
Yep.
what we thought you wanted, and kind of give us a start, and kind of move forward. We wanted, what's the next step? You know, where are we going from here? So, I mean, that's valid. I mean, that's fine.
Okay,
Good job, this is.
but you have to include the cost of the debt service too, that, you know, to get an accurate number.
Which we have.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so we're gonna meet again.
We will probably meet a lot.
So you're gonna put it on the agenda for the next meeting? If you want to.
I'm not gonna go away.
Don't worry, I have to deal worse than you. Yeah, if you guys wanna put it on the next meeting?
Well, I guess the question is, you're gonna have the numbers by.
Yeah, is it can you do it that quick, or do
This-
you wanna
Oh,
wait till?
when's the next meeting?
The 4th. Well, yeah, I don't,
April 4th.
that's unrealistic, I don't think you can do that.
It's gonna be tight. You know,
Yeah,
once a month.
because
Why
we
don't
only meet once.
schedule it for the second meeting in April?
I mean, I guess-
That'll give you a month.
What's
Is that enough?
April 18th.
Hey, it's my
Yeah,
birthday.
that'll give us more time, because even with this, we didn't get this like,
Yeah, I know, you just barely got it, so.
so we kind of threw this together real quick. I mean,
Have you considered using the Vermont Small Business Development Center to help you with your projections? They have some tremendous software that, and I've done a lot of work with them over the years, they're really, really good at what they do, they're free.
yeah,
And they could give you a template and coach you as to how you could treat your expenses with inflation impact and whatever, and the software. And it really might help you because you're gonna be focusing on the individual line items.
right,
And you're gonna say, oh, damn it, I didn't think about that. It'd be surprised what comes up.
yeah.
So you might wanna contact them. They have an office, if you go through Tim Smith's group in St. Albans, he can set you up. But they are very, very good. And this is what they do.
Great.
Alright, we'll be headed in the right direction then.
We're getting there.
Alright, thank you. You can
Did
stay.
you want me to leave those so you can look at them closer? Because
Well,
we have 2 copies.
Okay, yeah, we should keep one here, yeah.
And
Yeah,
just to look at.
yeah,
'cause we
people
have-
going through, see it.
Well, it's just a proposal.
I know.
But
Still.
you guys can look at it a little deeper,
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of like the space-wise,
Yeah.
that, how we're gonna do what we say we're gonna do. And how,
Okay, thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you.
Alright, now we got an update on, but is Joel gonna be out, Joel, you gonna be able to give an update on the trailhead?
Yes, we sent a proposal, request for proposal to the EHB about 3 weeks ago, and they said it would be back to us this week at some point. They were pretty much done with it on Friday when I spoke to them, but they had to run it through their system before they could let it go out publicly. So we should have a cost for the design part of that project to us this week. Brian and I can review that, unless it's out of the ordinary, plus we'll have the state project officer look at it. If it's in line with what we're expecting, then we will go ahead, and you guys have authorized Brian to sign. He can sign the contract with the design firm. So we're moving.
I'll also mention, Joel, I was contacted last week by a writer from Municipal Magazine. It's a national magazine in municipalities. And they're doing a story on the LVRT, and they wanted to know what we could expect, and what we were looking to gain out of having the trailhead. And I even went up and took some pictures of the trail. It's not much to show this time of year, but they're very happy, and they can tell that we're very excited. So we get some PR.
Good.
What's the anticipated time to get that design done?
That's a great question, Earl. I would have pavement there by July if I could do it, but we're doing this with federal funds and state rules, and we will follow all of them. And I anticipate design probably at least 3 months away. Have to have a public hearing. There's some environmental paperwork that's gonna be done, et cetera, et cetera. So I wish I could give you that answer. That should be part of the proposal. There should be a calendar of the different milestones for the project.
Nothing's definitely gonna happen as far as construction till next year. At the early.
I don't wanna say.
We lost them.
No.
In the wild blue yonder. That would be a stretch, but you never know what might happen. But just getting the environmental stuff and all that together would take some time.
Okay, well, I guess we lost Joel, so, but you will update us, Brian, in the next meeting about make sure that everything got done.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right, now we have the 4th Street property.
Right. Okay. I have this proposal. I have not had a chance to read it yet, but what they're gonna do is, this is the plan, this is from Atlas Engineering, whose predecessor was actually the engineering firm that did the original spot over there. And this goes on for some 18 pages, and it's their work plan and what they're gonna do to mitigate the problem over there.
Have they defined the problem yet?
Well, they they're gonna be doing soil borings and soil sampling. The site visit, the prediction, they're looking for PAHs and PCPs via EPA method 8270. Vanadium in lead via EPA method 6010. EDB, TCP, and BC via EPA method 6260, and PCBs by EPA method 8062. Whatever that means.
So they haven't
really solved,
They
they're
don't know the
looking
problem
for the
yet.
problem.
Yeah,
They're
still looking for it.
Well, they must have what they found before.
Right, so there's this suspect that this may be further stuff in there. With this, now what they're gonna do with this work plan is, once I sign it, if you're so and willing to spend the sum of $18,937, they have to send this work plan to the state of Vermont, DEC, to get them to agree that this is in fact the plan to go.
But they don't have a plan, we're paying them 18,000 to come up with a plan.
This is 18,937 to come up with the plan to what they're gonna do to identify the site investigation and these chemicals that they're looking for.
After they define the problem.
Right.
Now, that's more than what we budgeted for, isn't it? Or did, or
We
is it?
went for 12,000.
Yeah, I think it was 12,000.
Yeah.
You want me to look?
$12,000.
Yeah, so
Now, we never put this out to bid, we just got them to look at it, we found out, because we were looking for the information from before.
right. Yeah.
Oh, there he is. He's back, let me get him.
Where is that, outfit located at it?
Well, they have an office here in Vermont, in the Burlington area, but they're a national company,
There it is.
offices all over the US.
So they're proposing this based on what's been done before.
Based upon what was found before.
And they have access to that.
Yes, they do.
And if we put this out to bid, could we use the information that was provided to us before by the other firm?
I don't see why we couldn't.
We paid for it.
We paid for it, I
Yeah.
don't see why we couldn't. You know, we can put it out to bid, it's just that, you know, it's gonna take some time, that's all.
Well, the last time we did this, we ended up saving
Mhm.
a pile of money by
Mhm.
putting it out to bid.
Yeah.
So our experience is pretty good right now.
Yep.
Maybe we ought to try it again.
Mhm.
That's just my thought.
I agree with you.
What do you guys think? I mean, it's not gonna get done this year anyways. I mean, as far as any project there on that particular parcel, so.
But these were the folks that did the initial assessment, correct?
The initial, well, they're
No.
part of they're not, they're a different company.
They've been bought
They've
out.
been
They
bought
took
out.
on that, but these people
Migrated into
worked,
there.
they worked with that company, and they're now working for this company.
And they're basing their proposal on what was done before.
Right,
So anybody else that bid on it would be looking at that same information.
right.
Right. They are primarily, they found contamination during the removal of one 550-gallon diesel and one 1,000-gallon gasoline under storage tank in 1992.
Yeah.
And so that's why they're looking for the other stuff. Plus, it was the coal yard for Swanton Lumber Company, that's who the town bought the property from in 1946 or 1947. So that's what they're looking for. I think every bit of land now, they have to do these studies on everything.
Yeah, you're gonna do it all.
But whatever you'd like to do.
Well, I don't know, what you guys wanna put it out to bid? Seems like that sentiment's leaning that way. If you do, make a motion.
I move to put it out for bid.
Second it.
All right, any more discussion?
No?
No? Okay, all those in favor, the motion been made and seconded, to put this out to bid, for the 4th Street property, the, plan to remediate it. Is there any more discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
I hope there's nothing toxic there. I grew up 200 feet away from that place.
Okay, the motion carried.
Well, you probably went over and played in the sand all
All the time. Oh, yeah. Shot the
Uh,
lights out with BB guns.
all right, we get to turn the page.
Statute of limitations. Yeah, all set.
Okay, and now we're going on to new town business, and the first thing will be opening bids for the exterior painting of the Swanton Town office and the Swanton Public Library.
Okay. We have 2 bids submitted. I don't know if you care to open. Now, one of these was accidentally cut open with the opener. The bids had to be received by us on March 17th, which was last Friday. And this one was mailed on March 16th by FedEx with next day delivery. We technically did not receive this until 9 o'clock yesterday morning.
Yeah, but that's not their fault.
So,
I don't think.
Anybody got a problem with that?
I don't.
No, I mean, if it's FedEx.
Okay.
okay, so who wants to open? This
Well,
is- That's from Vermont Painting Company.
So what'd you do, reseal it?
Yeah,
I did because I thought it was recording, because FedEx, I always get recording, and I ripped it open, and then I was like, oh,
then
this
she
isn't
read the
recording.
letter in there.
Do you need something to cut that with, or did you get it?
Well, I'm almost got it.
Okay.
So, see what that gets said, if you wanna open up the one in my head, I don't care. Be
That's
faster.
from Gilmet Handyman Services.
So who was this one from?
That's from
Vermont Painting Company. Jeez, I think, holy shit. This is for, for painting library, doesn't.
Okay, yeah, but we said to break it down. The quote separate for each one.
Yeah. Let's see something at the town office building here, but their bid, this Vermont Painting Company's bid is $16,800 total labor, paint, materials. And I'm gonna say that it's for both buildings. It says paint, hope for painting
Do you want me to-
library, but under here they got add 400 for touch-up of town office bill. I don't know if it's all they're just touching it up or.
That's what we had asked for, to touch up the town office building and also to replace the post here at the entranceway.
Okay, so that's $400, so that's $17,200 would be the total bid.
Well, this estimate from Gilmet Handyman Services, $4,500 to do the town office, and $14,950 to do the library.
What was that number again, sorry?
$14,950 to do the library, and $4,500 to do the.
That's $19,450.
Now, I would assume that based on these bids, that one is doing more work to the town clerk's office than the other one is.
Yeah, we have to look at.
Well, it says only add 400 for touch-up.
Take a look at
References they do.
Yeah, nowhere is Z mentioning,
No, just that 400 added.
nowhere is Z mentioning this,
Do you want me to make copies so everyone can see those?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, that bid, and we can all look at it here in a minute, is not mentioning the repair work that,
No, you just mentioned that
Pointed out.
400, yeah, yeah.
But they came here and assessed it, right?
These are the only two people, companies that came here?
Yes, yeah. And we advertised it in the messenger.
Yeah, I know, I've seen it.
$600, and it was posted in the town office as well as, I believe, the library and the village office. So, and somehow this gentleman in St. Johnsbury heard about it. Excuse me. He drove over.
Is the library that they're gonna do up around the top, is that why?
They were gonna do all the painting, all the exterior painting.
I'm sure
That's a
they
lot of
probably
work.
need,
Huge amount.
lift and.
Yeah, they're gonna need a lift, they're gonna need.
That is something that town hall probably felt they needed for future
They're
maintenance.
gonna paint the front door, they're gonna do the side door.
Well, it's strange.
And where your friend will let it look like suites.
Standing on it.
Yeah. Same
Nice,
as that one?
real recreational.
I'm not
Nope,
gonna
that's three.
go on high enough to know.
Sorry. Well, it says repair rotten areas, but is that just talking about just the
Right, where you see that.
number 4?
Yeah, number 4 does say
Repair
repair.
rotten areas, but.
I think that's the library though, probably, maybe, I don't know.
Right, well,
Yeah,
that
it's-
was-
it's not specific,
When we
so-
were over there, we said if you notice rotten areas and you're straightening and repair. So,
Thank you.
Thanks, Karen.
I specifically mentioned it needs to be into 2 separate bids.
I got the numbers. I'm just waiting for the board to make a motion.
Oh, yeah, and painting, yeah. it says 2 pillars inside entrance and painting the roof. That would be the metal roof on this side entrance. That's also pointed down.
How much do we have budgeted, Kathy, for library repairs? Do we have enough to cover that? Oh, we had 10,000 in there. Well, we put more, didn't we? I thought we were gonna put
We
more.
were gonna put more in there. Library maintenance. 10,000.
And that's our part of the library budget, right?
Right.
And how much do we have in for the town hall?
$20,000.
20,000.
But these aren't apples and apples, then, are they? Because we haven't got, he didn't give us a
He
bid.
did not. He did not separate the, was requested.
Yeah, he just got that 400 on there and that's it. 400 stuck up down. So, but that doesn't,
Doesn't include replacing the wood and
yeah. And then, so that's 17,2.
22.
And he's, 14, 18, 19, he's just gonna be short of 20,000.
$2,250 difference between James' estimate and Vermont painting. However, I'm not sure that this year is still covering both buildings.
That's the issue. It doesn't appear that way looking at it.
James, are you still on?
Yes, I'm here.
Question, James.
Yeah,
On your bid for that job, what kind of warranty against peeling, James?
warranty against peeling.
Yeah.
You see that?
Well, generally it's the paint warranty on the paint that's used.
Say that again,
I have
please.
to- What's that?
Say that again, please.
Generally, it's generally the paint is warranted. As I stated, I think I stated in the bid that anything that's gonna be painted will be clean, scraped, primed, bare spots, and then 2 coats of top paint on everything.
Yep.
This is on the library, and of course, the town hall is just touch-up paint after we pressure wash it, cleaned it up.
Okay, thank
And
you.
then also, that bid in mind for the library is also includes replacing those 4 windows over the door that are shot.
And that's not in the other, but I see it.
Yeah, it isn't.
Clearly talked about all that when we had the walkthrough with Brian.
Well, what do you guys think?
Well, are we supposed to not consider the bid that came in from Vermont Paint Company because he didn't address what we asked for?
Yeah, so it would be hard to accept that without some kind of verification. I don't know if you wanna have Brian go back, but you know, it doesn't say it in here, but you know, we're opening bids now, so. I mean, if it doesn't include it, then he can't, you know, are you gonna let him include it? Probably shouldn't, because we already opened the bids.
I was saying
We went
previous,
through the similar thing with Green Mountain,
yeah,
and we
We
disqualified him, and
That's the word I'm looking for.
myself personally, I like to move to award it to the Met Handyman Services.
Are you making a motion then?
I am.
Does anybody wanna second it?
I'll second it.
Okay, alright, the motion's been made and seconded that we hire Gilmet Handyman Services for the, paint repairs at the library and the town hall.
Okay. The only thing we want to remember, this could be very sensitive because James just stepped off the board. He's the one that brought all this to our attention, which I'm glad he did, because we wouldn't have probably recognized it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we want to be sensitive that somebody's gonna come back and say, well, you gave it to him because, well, we gave it to him because his price was good, and he met the terms of the bid request.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, you're right, Steve, I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Does this require bonding too? No, okay. And that was not part of the request for proposals, right? There was
No
nothing in it.
bonding,
Right.
we would need proof of
No.
insurance.
Right.
Proof of insurance, that's it, that's it.
Yeah, we do require
Okay,
proof of
okay,
insurance.
so that's all, everything's there.
Made a motion, Chairman, and it's been
Yeah,
seconded.
it's been seconded, we had a little bit, is there any more discussion?
When does he anticipate it to start? What's the timeline look like?
Sure, it's weather.
Late summer, probably August, somewhere in there.
Did you say August, James?
Yeah,
So before the real bad weather comes in, so we should have plenty of time to get it done. Any more discussion? Alright, all those in favor of hiring, Gilmet's handyman service?
Well, where's the money coming from?
Well, I guess we've got 30,000 between the town and the library, I guess we're gonna have to use it at, between the two of them.
Yeah, we'll see,
Well, for now.
for now, because we might have some other things we have
That's
to do here.
right, we might have, and we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, but unless you guys wanna do something different.
Well, James might wanna finance it.
Oh, yeah, we could pay him a couple dollars a week, yeah. Good.
James, were you laughing, or?
nah, just a little chuckle.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's gotta be done,
It needs to be done.
so we're just gonna have to find the money somewhere.
Well, we have enough right now, and if we run into something else, we'll deal with it at that point in time.
Oh, I just wanna make sure that we talked about it.
Okay, I appreciate that. So do you want to amend your motion to include money for now, or just leave it as a motion to hire them and then we'll pay them?
Leave it at that.
Alright, so the motion been made, seconded, once again I'll ask for any more discussion. No, alright, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that motion carried. And you have the amount and everything in there, Joe?
I do.
Okay,
You're the winner, James.
Thank you, guys.
alright,
Thank you.
okay.
Don't be late with the meeting now.
Thanks, James.
Bye, guys.
Get some rest.
Yeah.
Yeah, going to it. Good night.
Alright, discussion of future town projects and activities.
Just a carry over from.
Yeah, I know. Do you guys wanna get into that? Because it is, we've been here a while. Because it is kind of important, maybe we could get it at the top of our agenda next meeting?
If you want.
is that?
I don't know, it's up to you guys.
I think we can wait. Is that the one where we began with your list?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we ought to wait.
Yeah, but just move it up on the agenda the next time, so we don't.
Get under old
Yeah.
business.
Alright, now we have the contract, for police services from the, for the village of Swan for this 23-24 year.
Which is in your packet, it's basically the same contract that we've had, except the dollar amounts have been changed.
They were increased slightly.
Depends on the definition of slight.
Yeah. But it's the amount that was approved in the warning.
Yes, 196,784.08, or $16,398.67 per month. And if you're in agreement with that, you'll need to authorize Ed to sign on behalf of the select.
Is there any motion to authorize it?
Yes, yeah, we have to make a motion.
I'll make a motion to authorize Ed White Senior to sign the
Police contract.
police contract.
Just gonna do is find the original.
second that?
I'll second it.
Okay, motion made and seconded now, is there any more discussion?
The only discussion I have is really the times of service, and I know that's something that we really need to discuss more with the police.
Yeah.
It's still getting the 8 hours of coverage. I think personally for somebody who lives, out in West Swanton, the times of coverage during the day doesn't encapsulate the time that people are transitioning in and out of the community. And that's when most people, I think, it says we need police presence, or they're not seeing the police presence is during those heavy commuter times. So I would really love to see that change a little bit.
Well, we did start some discussion tonight, we just have to see what we can do,
Right.
But I understand that concern.
Lose it, Brian?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, we'll just sign this back copy, I'll sign the front end of it. Just,
Okay, no more discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, okay, so that motion carried too.
probably my guess, thank you.
All right, now, community and economic development, do you have anything tonight?
Well, I just quickly,
Okay,
I've been, as I mentioned earlier, concentrating to get the closeout done on the leader evaporator grant. It's taking a bit longer than expected. There was about 4 days that the gear system was down. Then one day my computer wouldn't start up for 3 hours. Good way to start the day. But once that's done, we, according to the state, we should be ready to go with the revolving loan fund. I've also received some letters of interest and resumes in the response to the ad for the administrative assistant, and those interviews have been, I've got 3 interviews scheduled, 2 starting for tomorrow, and 1 on Thursday. The applicants, 2 of the applicants are very concerned, and we've talking with other people, this is kind of the way it is now. Very concerned that they don't want their present employer to know that they're applying for a job. Yeah, and that's understandable.
yeah.
For the next meeting, there will be some documentation that's going to be acted upon for the grant, the Abenaki Nation of Missisquoi that we've been working on. The other thing was, I did send emails, exchange with the young lady who wishes to open the bakery downtown. And on this Friday, I'll be virtually attending a workshop on federal funding assistance put on by the Vermont Community Leadership Network. And then on April 13th, I'll be attending the 2nd Annual Vermont Capital Planning Forum conducted by the Vermont Bond Bank. And it's an all-day forum, and that's going to be held in Barrie. So I'll get myself educated. So that's what we got right now.
All right, so now we're gonna move on to the highway department, and I see you got it all listed right here. Apparently, I didn't realize this one here on that mulcher, we might get more money then.
We may get more money. In talking with the people at Northwest Regional Planning to find out how I'm supposed to go about getting the money, and she said, well, she says, it costs $68.45, and so she says she's put feelers out to try to get us 80% of the $68.45, maybe even a little bit more. So, we may not get it, but in any case, we do have the $47.20 coming.
Right.
So I will need authorization, signed documents to obtain this payment of this grant, including purchase agreements, purchasing the equipment from the state. Even though we bought it direct, but it's like the state bought it, now we gotta buy it from them.
So, you have what documents you have to sign that you need approval for?
I don't have them with me, they're gonna be coming.
They're gonna be coming?
Yeah.
Okay, so how would you want the motion to read?
Then I'd be authorized to sign any documents required to get payment under this grant.
I'll make that motion.
You get that, Joe?
And I'll second it.
Can you repeat the exact motion, please?
That I would be authorized to sign any and all documents required to get payment under the terms of the grant for the mulcher, in the highway department.
All right, Cody made the motion.
I'll
and
second.
Nicole seconded it. Any more discussion on that? All right, all those in favor? Aye. Okay, that motion
And-
carries too.
Lastly, we did send out the bids for paving, and they've gone to J. Hutchins, F.W. Whitcomb, Hungerford Paving, Wright's Excavating, and Pike Industries. Hungerford and Wright's are local Franklin County companies. The bids are due back to me on Friday, April 14th at 4:30 p.m. And then we'll just open up the bids at the regular select board meeting of April 18th.
And Kevin did call me this week that he did approve the underground boring on Bushy Road for the Bosberg fire. Not sure what size pipe it was, but it's supposedly gonna be done sometime this summer, and I guess everything else has been going fairly well. Blew a few hoses, but
Yeah.
nothing serious. And I haven't had a chance to really sit down and talk to Kevin yet about things, you know, how we're gonna do it. Excuse me, because I wanna bring him into this planning process too.
Absolutely.
But I'm gonna try to do that tomorrow. Okay, so now we go to the expenditures and the general orders.
And I did have a change because there's ARPA orders that I need to add on after the payroll orders.
Tonight?
They're in your package.
Oh, they're in there.
Yeah.
I only had a question on the general orders. The depot, is that how big a tank do they got there?
That, they only fill up, once a year.
Okay.
We might get another small bill,
Right.
but usually they fill
Okay.
up this time of the year and it carries them through.
Alright, that's what I
We
figured.
might
but I
get a
just-
small one in the
Yeah.
fall, like they tap it off in the fall,
Yeah,
and then they refill it in the
okay,
winter.
yeah, cause I hadn't seen it before, so that's what I
Yeah,
thought.
it's a once and a.
The insurance, you got two payments of the same amount, a couple, 1 or 4 or 5 days
Yeah.
later, is that?
It's because we've been so long since we've done orders that both bills had to be paid
No.
before,
Okay, and it's the same on every
It's a-
department?
you're right.
Okay,
yeah.
Do the ARPA orders have the same timeline as the other orders?
Yes, they do.
anybody else got any comments or questions about the general orders? And then I'll entertain a motion to approve the general orders.
I make a motion to approve the general orders dated 2/17/2023 to 3/21/2023.
And probably you should put the amount in there too at the same time when you make that motion.
Okay, so it's gonna be $49,372.12.
Alright, Nicole made a motion, Cody seconded, is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of approving the orders? Alright, that motion carried. Next one will be the highway orders.
Is that for 5-way?
Yes.
I didn't have any questions on them, even though just comment that the fuel was up higher than normal, or has it gone down a little bit this month?
No.
No.
Good job.
Do the trucks have any warranties on them or anything, or are they too old for those?
Some of them are to probably pass their warranty. No, they have had a lot of repairs last year, so more than normal.
Yeah.
More than normal.
Not that I trust warranties all that much, but just, I didn't know,
From
instead
what
of
I
dishing out $2,000 on
understand of trucks, the newer models are not like they used to be.
Hey, same way with people.
Sure.
Was, just a quick question, was
Yeah.
there any, was this just for the towing, the $14.90 for the TDI, or was that any repairs that were accrued?
That was just taking it out of the ditch,
Right.
throwing it back into the road.
Okay,
How much was that?
$14.90.
Ain't bad for them. They love 78.
Yeah, absolutely,
No kidding.
yeah.
Did everyone get these, by the way?
Yep, early.
I sent them way out.
Yeah,
early.
last week.
Yeah, now I got a ton of bills stacked up.
I was shocked. I said,
Yeah, I'm gonna shop for next month.
Oh,
somebody wanna move?
I'll make a motion to accept the highway orders 2/17/23 to 3/21/23 in the amount of $46,562.02.
Second.
Second, all right, motion been made in second. Is there any other discussion? No, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, that motion carries. Okay, we're going on to the library orders. The only question I had on there, and I don't know who would know this, is that motor, blower motor or something. Is that in one of them furnaces that we're supposed to
It is.
replace?
It is.
And they couldn't live with that?
They had to fix it.
When was that?
It was
Lower
on
motor than,
Alliance Mechanical, went out and did their normal,
oh, it was on their normal inspection?
inspection and found that that had to be replaced.
oh, of course. $969.
Yeah, almost $1,000. And then they're gonna take them furnaces out of there?
Can we take out the part and salvage it in case we need it again?
I should keep in that furnace.
Yeah.
My understanding is that the new equipment is in Alliance's warehouse, and they're just waiting for the weather to warm up enough so that they can pull out the old equipment.
Who gives the go-ahead for like a repair like that? Who makes the decision whether or not it's really needed or not?
Oh, that one there, I don't know, must be they figured they had to put it in there, they had to put it in there, you didn't ask any, you didn't know about
I
it.
didn't know about it, it's the first I've heard of it.
No, I didn't know about it until we got the bill.
I just was
Maybe,
wondering if they like consulted somebody or for like Alliance was like, hey, you know,
They have
this
that
is a
contract
record.
with Alliance to do the repairs.
yeah, but maybe they didn't need to do that.
Right, that's what I was just wondering.
We did it.
Well, maybe we need to revisit that contract again.
Right, like, oh, like, I just, some companies just take it upon themselves just to,
Well, they might have talked to Abigail, I don't know, she just brings knowing the bills when
Yeah.
they get after the fact. I
Yeah,
mean,
but
they
that-
might have discussed it with her and said it had to be repaired, and she might have said, well, it needs to be repaired, I don't know.
Have we paid this guy?
Yes,
We have paid.
yeah,
Well, I think you should talk with Alliance and find out
yeah.
why they needed to do that.
Can I get a copy of the bills? I know you still have a copy.
yeah, oh, yeah.
Well, I'd like to know why Abby felt that.
Well, I don't know, she did or not, that's what I'm saying, I
Okay.
don't know, I
Yeah,
know
we
that
don't
they
know.
come they come in so often and they'll look at everything and they'll do a repair as they feel it needs to be done, that's the way they've always done it since they've been, that's the contract, they come in and look at stuff and they
That guy
fix
probably
what's, they
didn't
did the
even-
same thing with the air conditioning units. this
I
past
know
summer.
cool, they're doing the rest of the work.
Probably
Yeah,
not.
it just makes me feel like if you bring your car into a shop for an oil change and then all of a sudden you get like a $12,000 bill because you had to replace your transmission that you didn't give an okay for. That's all.
Still somewhat
We're not
concerned about what we're doing in the library based on what David Winchester said. A lot of what he said made sense.
Yes, they did.
I mean, just common sense.
Yep.
Well, and I think that's a discussion we need to have, you know, at our next meeting as we're planning, because I know that's on one of my list of things that we need to discuss. You know, what that's gonna look like as a 3-5 year plan. You know, there are some maintenance concerns there, not just with the heating, but with other things.
Well, here's a suggestion, maybe Brian, you could get a hold of him and if the board doesn't mind, I could meet with him, with Brian, one of them Alliance people, and say, hey, look, these are some of the things that we're kinda concerned about, you know, what do you think? I mean, if they're in that kind of business, you would have think they would have brought that up to us.
Valid point, sure.
Yep.
We want to try it that way and then, see what comes up.
I'll call and,
Tell them we're a little disappointed, Brian, knowing that we're replacing those units this summer. Why would they have went ahead and done that?
yeah,
Yeah.
and that we'd like to talk to them.
So there's actually two parts that were replaced. There was a inducer motor that was replaced for $382.15, and then a condition pump for $116.46. combustion test was $35 and labor was $436.
Okay. All right, so any more discussion on the library orders?
And the plumbing was $990.
Maybe you wanna ask him if he's ready to put them back. I'm glad to meet him.
Well, anybody else is welcome to come. I don't have a problem. I just want, somebody from the select board should be there. It shouldn't be just Brian, because that shows that we're really concerned in that.
I'd like to, depending on.
Okay, let Cody know.
So, after 3 o'clock, right?
Yes.
Or this Friday, they won't come back quick.
Yeah, or this Friday, but after 3 would be great. If not,
Yeah,
then
they won't come back quick on
if I need to step out, I can step out.
Well, no, we'll try to. Your job comes, the job that puts the bread on the table comes first.
Well,
Forget
that's not the one.
Okay,
Make a
any
motion.
more, you were making the motion?
Yep, library orders 2/17/2023 to 3/21/2023 for the amount of $4,641.
Second.
All right, motion been made and seconded. Any other discussion? If not, then all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, the motion carries. Now we're going on to payroll orders.
I make a motion to accept the payroll orders 2/17/23 to 3/21/23.
Second.
What was the amount on the payroll?
I'm getting there.
Okay.
It's on the second to last page, I think.
No,
No,
it's a collaboration between the 3 pages.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Or just sit right here?
2 pages. No, 'cause there's 2 different payroll orders.
52,764.64.
Oh, I would have never done that quick.
That's why she's the
52,000.
numbers lady.
Yeah, I would have.
764.64.
And just so you know, that's because this is the general and then this is the library. payroll.
It's good information.
Okay, we got the numbers right?
Yep, we do.
Motion been made and seconded. No more discussion, then all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. All right, now we're gonna go into we have to start another meeting.
No, you're gonna do the ARPA.
Oh, ARPA, oh, I didn't even see that. You know,
There.
oh,
I
that's
made
right,
the
you brought
motion.
that in later,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
I make a motion to accept the ARPA orders 2/17/2023 to 3/21/2023 in the amount of $5,729.75.
Second.
All right, this motion been made and seconded. Is there any discussion on these ARPA orders?
No.
Well, you would know this, so who is it? Oh, across the side. I thought it was somebody new.
No, nobody.
All right, so all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, that motion carried. Now we can go to our liquor control board meeting. If somebody wants to make a motion.
They're all in good standing, Kathy.
Yes, they are.
I make a motion that,
Well, we
Joel,
gotta,
do you have that list?
we gotta recess this meeting and.
Yep. You gotta get out of
recess,
it,
yeah,
recess
you
and then go into the liquor control.
So we have to make a motion to recess it.
I make a motion to recess from the regular select board meeting to enter into the liquor and tobacco control board.
I'll second.
All right, motion been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so
Motion
the,
carried. So now we're in the liquor control.
so the renewals are Campbell's Bay Campground, Martin's Foods, I'll give you this, Martin's Foods, oh, you got that, okay, perfect. Martin's Foods, DBA Hannaford, Batterman Enterprises with its Northside Beverage and Spirits.
Where's that, Kathy?
Who?
What is it? Batterman is the
Oh,
Northside, it's
okay.
the liquor store on First Street.
Oh, okay, okay.
Oh,
yeah.
that's what's
All
wrong.
right.
Spirits.
Yep, and then Hog Island Market.
Yep.
A&A Brothers, which is the former St. Marie's,
Yep.
and then North Country Bait and Tackle.
Okay.
And they all have the liquor license, oh, it's wine and beer license, and then tobacco license.
Okay, so then it has
And
been
there's
no issues
no
with any of these?
violations on any of them.
Can we make this all one motion?
Yeah.
We don't have to.
Yeah, you can make a motion to
Okay.
approve
All right.
the,
The list.
The list has presented.
There's second-class licenses, so you
Yeah.
can say you approve the second-class licenses and tobacco licenses for,
Yeah, but I thought Baderman had a different license because they're selling liquor.
oh, you're right.
So
Second class license for everyone. to
Second
accept.
class except for Batterman, which they get, if I can find them here. There's A&A. Alright, this is.
You're gonna have to list them in the minutes too, aren't you, Joe?
Record. He's got the last.
He's got the,
What?
he's got the list already.
Oh, you got it already? Okay, so we can put that in there. The only thing is, like, when we make that motion, you're gonna have to do extra motion for the liquor license.
That's right.
Yeah. That's the way you would do it. Find it?
I purchased alcohol license twice. So it's they get a first class and the tobacco license, but they also do the tobacco, what they call it, tobacco substitute endorsement, which is your Jewel and those.
Every one of them's doing that, or just one?
Hog Island Market does not do that. So Briette's and Hog Island Market does not do the substitute.
Substitute. So, alright, we're gonna have to make this motion, and it's not gonna be as easy as I was hoping.
So there needs to be a motion to approve the renewal license, the second
They apply
class
to each one, you could say.
Yeah, probably just do each one.
for each individual one.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, that's because you got all them different things in
Well, you
there.
could do the motion, to approve the alcohol and tobacco licenses, the criteria for each business, and list the business. Then you're just approving the ones that they have, so you're covering it in one motion.
Okay, then you'll
It's all
have to,
verbiage.
when Joe does a minute, he's gonna have to list the ones that are class 2 and tobacco, and then the other motion.
You don't have to, you can put, you're approving the license that pertains to that
Business.
business. Not, so you're not approving
Right.
the same license for every business,
Yeah.
you're gonna approve the license and tobacco license that pertains to the businesses listed below.
Okay,
and
so
then
the
you're
motion
covered.
could be simply that we're, motion to approve all the license requested that been brought before us for what they're requested for.
Why are you making it harder?
Yeah. Well, I don't know, how do you wanna put it in there, it's, you know, either do them individually or do them.
Make a motion that the licenses as applied for be approved.
Okay, as applied
For liquor, alcohol, whatever.
Okay.
And
Yeah, just kind of
Tobacco.
generalizing.
Liquor and tobacco.
Yeah.
So I will make that motion to approve the licenses as applied for by Campbell's Bay Campground, Martin's Food DBA Hannaford's, Batterman Enterprise, Northside Beverage Spirits, Hog Island Market, A&A Brothers LLC, North Country Bait and Tackle.
I'll second it.
Second.
Alright, motion been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Okay, motion carried.
Can we get samples next time?
No, we can't get samples.
I would make a motion to adjourn the Liquor and Tobacco Control Board and re-enter our regular select board meeting.
I'll second it.
Alright, motion been made to re-enter the select board meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Alright, now we're getting right to, is there any other necessary business? Alright, correspondence?
None.
No. Public comment? Everybody's gone.
Everyone's on the bed.
Alright, I'll do the upcoming events. We got a DRB meeting, Development Review Board on March 23rd at 6 p.m. Planning Commission meeting Wednesday, March 29th at 6:30 p.m. And the regular and Zoom Select Board meeting, Tuesday, April 4th, starts at 6 p.m. So I want people that are watching to know the change, that the Select Board meetings are moving to a 6 p.m. start. And then town offices and operations are closed Friday, April 7th in observation, for Good Friday. Observance, there you go. Hey, Joe Biden gets away with it. And he's president.
I got more confidence in you than I do.
All right, is there any reason for us to go in executive session?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, I'd like to go in just for, do we have to tell you why we're going in, or we just have to?
you just say
Legal,
it is-
personal, or contract?
I would say contract, legal, yeah.
Okay,
So I move that we find that we enter executive session for the select board to receive confidential contract information for which the premature disclosure of it to the general public would clearly place the select board and others at a substantial disadvantage.
second it.
Second.
Okay, motion been made and seconded.
I move that based on our just made findings, the premature disclosure would place the select board and others at a substantial disadvantage. We enter executive session.
No, second.
Second.
Oh, second.
Okay.
Sorry, what-
All right, motion been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.